Now let's start inserting edge loops and bevels. I start with some edge loops and I do them, for example, here and here. Always check, okay, this works. Don't forget it to do on the other side. Then I need, of course, edge loops here, but as you see, when I insert that, it will go actually the wrong way because this is the four-sided face Maya wants to go along. And so when edge loops maybe don't go the way you want to have them, a nice trick actually here would be to select here. I double click here the stuff that it selects one side. So now I have everything selected and I use the bevel here in this case. Go to Edit Mesh Bevel, and what it does some offset more or less, and the fraction here is the thickness more or less. So I decrease that to 0.1. It depends on how big you modeled, okay? So just check that this is fine. And when you do, for example, 2 or 3 segments, of course you get some nice rounded shape. But because I have a look at it in the 3 mode anyway, so I just need 2 as segments. The next step is taking edge loops or bevel here, and actually also in that parts. And well, actually the decision if you take edge loops or bevels is more or less, sometimes both are really fine, but bevels are actually more accurate. Because when you set an edge loop, one is maybe closer to the other, to the edge, and when you want to have it perfect, then do it with bevels. And here I selected the whole stuff here, the edge loop, and I do a bevel again. And you see the advantage of a bevel is that it's perfectly on both sides. And actually I leave that, maybe a fraction of 0.4, and I leave it to 1 in that case. Then go out of the tool because I don't want that rough sharpness. And I do the same stuff here. That means when I take all of the edge loops here and also take that one and also this one, of course it's not a perfect edge loop, so I have to select it manually. Good, and then do bevel again. Well, I think the sharpness is okay here. And you see the 0.5, it's not reacting at the same size as we had here, because sometimes it's also limited by where is the next edge loop. And that's the reason why it's sometimes more bigger or bigger or not. So that's fine. Then I try what happens when I do a bevel here, because I need also, but maybe this could be limited a little bit, so I'm just trying. And I take here, I have a nice shortcut tool. Oh, it's not so bad actually. So it splits up quite cool. Still too big for me, maybe 0.3, that I have a nice rounded edge. Yeah, that looks quite cool. And you see I need here some more bevel stuff at the inside. Because when I would insert edge loops here, it just show you that you see it. For example, to put an edge loop here and here. So the inner side is getting sharp, but the problem is I have this little sharp edges also here, and I don't want them here. So I have to do it more controlled, and Bevels is an option to do it more controlled. We need Bevels actually nearly everywhere here, but I don't want to select everything manually because I need them here, 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 here. And a little trick we could do for selection is I go here to the top view and to the face mode, and I select all, no, it was too much, so that row, so press shift, that row, you see that? Now I selected actually most of the parts that I want to be beveled, but don't bevel yet, because we still have to deselect some of the edges. But first we will convert the selection, and for that go to select, convert selection to edges, what means all the faces now are selected, the faces changed to edge selection. And we have to deselect here these parts. That's the only stuff we don't want to bevel because it would be too hard. So go around through your geometry, and with the control key you deselect that stuff. That's way less work than if I did the selection manually of all the other edges. Okay, and actually I also don't need that one, because don't bevel stuff that you don't need. Be aware of that, because bevels also create geometry, and so forgot that. Be really sure that everywhere is that way, that you don't do any selection mistakes. Check everywhere. Which parts should be selected or not, because that's important. It's very important. So, well, I guess I did it, the selection. And now go to mesh. Now I take here the shortcut. I have it here, bevel. Yeah, so of course it was too hard. I take it down to 0.1 and one segment, and then I check here my 3 mode, and this looks awesome. Yeah, cool. It worked. So be aware that when you bevel, you see here, for example, I created a face with more than 4 sides, because the geometry is splitting up. Yeah, it creates extra geometry. And we have to get rid of that. Just to show you where these more than four-sided polygons are, you can go to Mesh, Clean Up, and open up the options and change here to select matching polygons, because when I say Clean Up, it will split the matte geometry in a lot of triangles, and this would be a little bit weird. And check on here faces with more than four sides and click clean up. And you see that is the geometry where I have 5-sided geometry. Well, that will be a lot of work of cleanup, but I just do it here on one quad and then mirror the other stuff. So let's get right into it. A clean way to clean up that, of course, we have it here on all sides, you see that? Is I just switch here to my multi-cut tool and now what I do is I create a manual bevel actually here on both sides. And see, that looks awesome. This is a clean way to clean up the geometry, a good way. And of course I could also do it, for example, here and here. And maybe I just get rid of this geometry here. It's just a retopology work. And what would be a nice solution here is that one. See, now I have a triangle, but it looks quite cool. And before I do the other cleanup stuff, I get rid of half of my topology. Select a grid, so get rid of that. And then this was the wrong side because that was the one I already worked on. So I think I got it all, yeah. And so what's that? That everything's fine. And here the lower part is actually here my upper one. And get rid of that. You see, select, really, you have to go closer here. I press Control Shift that I really get here to my middle line. And everything is deleted here well. And when I do more retopology work, I just do it in a quick way. Looks cool, and I check with actually my mesh cleanup again. Oh, here I forgot something and not sure what is here. And when I go to my cleanup tool, I see, okay, nothing more selected, so my geometry is fine again. But before we mirror, we will do some more tunings here, because it would be a good position now to do some more details before we do the mirroring. What we do, we insert an edge loop, of course, here on the front, because it was way too round, and also here on this. We don't do an edge loop because if we do an edge loop, it goes all around the geometry, and I don't want that. So in this case I do it manually, and also with no bevel, because it will mix up here my geometry a little bit too much. So it always depends on which tool should I select. So I just do it with the multi-cut tool and go right here and also do a connection here so that I have a four-sided face here. So I did everything in one step. I have fine geometry. And what I also do, maybe here, doing some more edge loops, because this is quite round and I want it straight. And the edge loop won't work here, because now I did actually a little bit of mistake, because now, yeah, you see it stops right here where it comes to a triangle, because I have a triangle here. And so now there are two workarounds. I just go here into the top view, and what I could do to force edge loops in a straight way is I have my object in an object mode selected and go to multi-cut, and then I start drawing outside the geometry, press shift to fix my knife actually, and then I can cut here the geometry just manually. And now I have a straight line here. That's what I wanted. And of course I have a triangle here, but that's okay. It looks cool actually. So, well, I think I'm happy and I'm ready for mirroring. So the first time you mirror, I go to mesh mirror, open up the options, of course. Of course, you can select here bounding box or world. It depends on if you modeled perfectly on the world axis. I leave bounding box here, and I always check here where I have to go, because you might go in another direction. I have to select for the first time here X plus, and the first mirror you have to turn off here the merge option. So do not merge border edges, and say mirror. Check if everything is fine here. Looks good. The reason why I said do not merge, because when I would merge, it would close the geometry here, and we don't want that. So do not merge. But I just check here if the problem is when we do not merge, that I have to do it in another direction that you see it better. It looks like that it is connected, but actually it's open here because it didn't merge anything. So what you have to do, you have to merge this row manually. So be aware that you really do that. So I just select here the middle vertex row and say, where I have my merge tool, here, merge. And be sure that the threshold is really, really low, because when you, I save my scene here at this point, because otherwise I would crash Maya maybe, because when the threshold is, for example, that way, yeah, I knew it, that Maya would crash. Thanks that I've saved. So back again. Yeah, so see that your distance threshold is quite low. And now when so check maybe afterwards, when you move one vertex, everything's fine. Good. And the second mirror, there you can do it a little bit easier. So when I go into mirror again, of course I have to check, okay, which direction. I see here y plus. Again, check your own axis because you have worked maybe differently. And now I can merge my border vertices because the geometry should close here anyway. And say mirror, so I don't have to do this step. And I just check if, yeah, everything's fine here. It looks quite well. Also in the 3 mode, I think I have a curve. Yeah. And after mirroring, always delete history, because Maya 2020 sometimes has a bug. At least 2019 version had it, and I'm not sure if 2020 works well, that it destroys geometry after reopening completely. So always delete all by type history after every mirror you did, and then save, and then you won't have any problems after reopening. Always, please be sure that you do that. Good. So we need actually just the actual plugs here in the front, and for that we will do the easy way, because the metal part is separate geometry anyway. So we start with the cylinder. That's not so big. And here, just check if my recording, yes, it's working. The cylinder shouldn't have so much subdivisions, and so 6 is fine. Rotate it here 90 degrees and check. Oops. The size and the position. And you see, actually they are not perfectly straight, but I model them straight and I will do the rotation later. I just do the metal part first. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, so that's fine. And as you see, I have a perfect round shape here, or more or less perfect round. And what I also do, I say, please don't do subdivision on the caps. That will help me to do easier selection stuff and so on. And for the round cap, I use now the same bevel as before. Always be sure that you save your scene sometimes. So select all the edges and go to mesh bevel. And now we will increase the segments to maybe 4 or something. And I can click and drag the fraction also with the middle mouse button. And you see, when I do it to 1, it shapes up actually quite cool. That I have a round starting point without any effort. Good, that's the first step. The second one, of course, is some more extruding work. You see that the metal part is a little bit smaller, and we will do it as one part. Of course, you can also do it as separate ones, but they are quite easy to do, and later on with the materials, it would be easier when they are separated. But this easier form, we can just select the faces and give it a different material than here that part. So I take here the one face and I give it just one small extrude. You see that it's a little bit smaller, the black one. Push it out a little bit and do another extrude. Just a tiny little step, because I just need a hard edge here. Yes, that's the reason why I do it here. Of course, I can insert an edge loop later on, then do another extrude, and so push it to the right direction. And now you see here it's getting a little bit thicker again. So take the face again, do an extrude and scale it just a little bit, and do another extrude. Until it pushes here inside, and I do a last extrude because the geometry should stay at a good form. And as you see, I don't merge them together. Of course, I can do that. And if maybe we should do this to do it really, really perfect. But how should we connect that? Because we have to do a lot of rework. But the basic stuff is given through the geometry that we have here. So yeah, we'll do some connection work, and then we will mirror the stuff later on again. For that, I'm trying with an insert edge loop, and it works because it comes here to but the second one, I'm not sure. Yes, the second one is going through the whole geometry down through that. What I do is I do it manually with the multi-cut tool, and as you see here on the other side, I just do here a connection, and I'm not sure where to connect it. I'm thinking about it because here I have, maybe I do it that way and connect it here because I need everywhere a connection. So that's the goal. And what I do now is I push this one here out again, so that it's perfectly here. You see that? More or less perfectly on the other geometry. Okay, it's just like that. And what I do is I switch here wireframe unshaded. The reason why is I want to see here my points. And to do a perfect connection, I take that point and now I will snap it to the perfect given geometry. And you can do this with here snap to points, and I can activate it actually here, or just press V on the keyboard. Okay, and with the middle mouse button, click with the middle mouse button somewhere. You are in the move tool. I have V selected, and with the middle mouse button I click somewhere here in the area and move around my mouse, and then it should maybe, yeah, it should jump to the point. It's often a little bit tricky, so again press V and try. It's not always working at the first time. And you see here when it comes to the cutting of the camera, maybe you change here the near clip plane. This is called that way. You can go to View, select Camera. Then the attribute editor should pop up. And I change here my near clip plane to 0.01. So it doesn't cut so early. And it's easier for me to go here. So again, go to vertex, to this vertex, and press V and snap it to that one. It works quite well here now. Oops, so. Now everything is now in the right position, and you see I have the flickering here is because I have doubled geometry. So I get rid of that face that was the one of the plug stick, and now the inner side, so I can see through it. But now it's still not connected, it's just at the perfect position. And what I do here is maybe I do a bevel. No, I do this afterwards. So what I do is, before I can merge these together, because they are different geometry, I have to combine them. So select both in object mode, go to Mesh, Combine. And now this is one thing, but still not merged together. You see it's still a hard edge here. And then I go to Vertices, select all of the stuff here, and say Merge. And let's see, yeah, you see how it looks like. Now it's perfectly merged here, and what I do is I select the outer edge here and do a bevel. Okay, this is fine here, 0. and just one segment, so I have a nice connection here. Oh, I think I didn't do a good, I did some weird stuff here. Connect also these points here. Which, good, save my scene, get rid of that point. You see also mistakes happen to me. Cool. And actually I have to bend it also a little bit, and maybe I have to adjust my positioning here, because this has to be longer. And now I take all of this stuff and just rotate it a little bit, and I have to readjust it and move it to so that it is slightly orientated inward. And here at this point where I have this little offset, this is smoothing completely out. I don't want that. So I need some more edge loops. So I insert an edge loop here and also here. And so you see I get a little offset again, and maybe I do this also here because I want it sharper. more defined. Switch off my wireframe, unshade it again. You see now I have a fully nice defined position, and of course I have to do my mirror stuff again. So be sure that you select it in the right way. Yeah. Object mode, edit mesh. No, mesh, mirror, open up the options. I have to go into direction X minus. Bounding box, merge border vertices, yes. Mirror, and finished. That's my perfect plug, and of course here you have to just put in your cable or also do the connection work I did here in the front. Depends on you, which grader you want to have. So, well, that's it. Hope you had fun.